There's a specific kind of exhaustion that singer-producers face that nobody really talks about. And it's not the exhaustion of working too hard. It's the exhaustion of switching continuously, sometimes mid-sentence, between two completely different versions of yourself. One version of you is open, vulnerable, emotional. That's the singer. The other version is critical, analytical, architectural. That's the producer. And most days you're asking both of them to show up at the same time, same room, same track. That's not sustainable. And if you've been doing this for a long time, you already know that. I'm Saurabh Shetty, one half of the composer duo Sorder, and we've composed for feature films, placed our music in an Amazon series, done over 150 commercials across all sorts of brands around the world. I'm also a singer and songwriter. The singer-producer burnout is something I've experienced personally, watched happen to collaborators, and spent a long time figuring out actually how to prevent it. This episode is about why it happens, what it actually looks like, and what you can do about it practically. Let's start with what's actually happening when you experience the burnout. When you sing, you need to be emotionally present. You need to access feeling, memory, vulnerability. The best vocal takes, the one that gives people chills, comes from a place of not overthinking. You're not analyzing, you're inhabiting. When you produce, you need to do the opposite. You're evaluating. Is the frequency on this track clashing with that one? Does this section need to be shorter? Is the reverb too long? And you're outside the music, looking at it, making judgments. These two modes are not just different, they're quite opposite to each other. One requires you to stop thinking and feel, whilst the other requires you to keep thinking constantly. And here's the problem. Most singer-producers don't separate the two. They sit down, open a DAW session, try to lay down a vocal, then immediately jump into editing that vocal, then go back to trying to perform again, and then switch to tweaking the production again, and then again go back to the singing part. You're switching cognitive modes every few minutes, sometimes every few seconds. Neuroscience has a name for this cost: task switching penalty. Every time your brain shifts from one type of thinking to the other, there's a reorientation cost. Energy spent on not the work itself, but on reconfiguring your brain to do that work. Do that for 3, 4, 5 hours in a session, and you don't just feel tired, you feel hollow. Like you gave a lot but produced very little. That's not a discipline problem, that's a structural problem. Now, what does a singer-producer burnout actually look like? It's worth naming the systems clearly, because burnout in this form often gets misdiagnosed, including by the person experiencing it. The first sign is creative avoidance. You open your DAW and find reasons not to start. You reorganize your sample library, you watch tutorials, you tell yourself you're preparing when actually you're just delaying, because some part of you knows how draining the session is gonna be. The second sign is output without feeling. You're finishing things, tracks, vocals, mixes, but nothing feels alive. You're going through the motions. Technical quality might even be improving, but the emotional truth of the music is flattening. You can hear it, you just don't know why it's happening. The third sign is the loop of diminishing returns. You work longer hours and get less done. Or worse, you undo the work you already did. You spend an entire session getting back to where you were yesterday. Progress feels like it's going backwards. And the fourth, this one is especially important, is producing as the avoidance of performing. This one is subtle. When the session gets hard emotionally, when the vulnerable part of being a singer feels too exposed, the producer brain offers an escape. Let me just fix this production thing first. Then I'll record the vocal. And suddenly 2 hours have passed, you've tweaked the kick sound 7 times already and recorded nothing. The technical work becomes a hiding place from the emotional work. And it's convincing because it feels productive. You're doing something, you're just not doing the thing. Now, how do we actually fix this? The core solution is simple to state and genuinely hard to implement. Separate the nodes, not just mentally, structurally. What this looks like in practice is time blocking your sessions by function, not by project. Instead of, I'm going to work on track 3 today, which means you'll bounce between singing and producing all day, you block your time like this. Singer sessions. These are for capturing voice memos, scratch vocals, melodic ideas, and lyric drafts. The rule in a singer session is that you do not produce. You don't open a plugin. You don't edit, and you don't evaluate. You just capture and leave it all alone. Then we come to producer sessions. These are for building and refining, arrangement, sound design, editing, and mixing. The rule in a producer session, conversely, is that you do not perform. You're making technical decisions with a clear head. Now, I know what you're thinking. What about those moments where singing and production feel inseparable? Where the melody comes from playing with a sound? Where the production idea comes from humming something? These moments are real and you should honor them. Keep a voice memo recorder running constantly. Capture everything. But when you sit down for a deliberate session, choose your mode before you start and protect it. This single structural change, more than any plugin, any piece of gear, any technical skill, will extend your creative longevity as a singer-producer. If this is naming something that you felt but didn't quite understand, then please hit like on this video. It helps other singer-producers find this content who need it as much as you do. Subscribe if you haven't already and share this with someone who you feel is in a similar situation. This community grows when you share it. Let's keep going. Now there's something I want to say that goes deeper than your workflow structure. The singer in you is the more vulnerable part, not weaker, more exposed. Singing requires a kind of openness that production doesn't. When you produce something and it's not good, it's a technical failure which you can fix. But when you sing something and it doesn't land, it feels personal. It feels like you weren't enough for the song. The vulnerability is also what makes your performance great. The exposure is the point. But it means the singer in you needs protection, not from criticism, but from the wrong kind of attention at the wrong time. When you let the producer brain into your vocal session too early, when you're listening back critically in the middle of a performance, you close that openness down. You start performing for the producer's approval, then for the song itself. And the performance suffers. I've had sessions where I've recorded 30 takes and none of them felt alive because I was producing them in real time. Monitoring every breath, every pitch, every phrase choice I was making the moment it left my mouth. And then I've had sessions where I gave myself permission to sing freely, imperfectly, without any judgment. And the third take was the one. The structure isn't just about efficiency. It's about protecting the conditions that make real performance possible. Burnout doesn't just affect your current project, it affects your relationship with music over years and decades. I've seen talented singer-producers walking away from music entirely, not because they failed, but they ran themselves into the ground. They didn't separate the modes, they didn't protect the creative conditions, they didn't build sustainable habits. And eventually, the thing they loved became the thing they dreaded. That's the real cost of ignoring this. The singer-producers who last, who keep making music for years and decades, who keep finding it meaningful, are the ones who treat their creative energy like a resource. Not infinite, not inexhaustible, something to be managed, replenished, respected. Your voice is your instrument. Your imagination is your studio. Both need maintenance. Build a structure. Separate the modes. Protect the singer. The work will be better and you'll still be making it 10 years from now. So here's what I want you to take from the video. Burnout for singer-producers isn't random, it's structural. It comes from asking two opposite parts of yourself to perform simultaneously without relief. And the fix isn't to work less, it's to work in a way that actually respects how your brain functions. Singer sessions, producer sessions. Keep them separate. Protect the conditions for real performance. And realize when the technical work is starting to serve as a hiding place for the creative work. The awareness alone will change how you work. See you in the next one.